Hi, this is Peggy and I am with my great friend John MacKinlay, the CEO of CAARY Capital. Hi, John. How are you?
Hi, Peggy. How are you?
So, well, that's an exciting day because it's the first video of the series that I'm launching on Career Wisdom. So
I'm
it's
honored.
well, it's great to have you, and kudos to you for being the guinea pig. So
Yeah.
that's that's
We'll see
wonderful.
how it goes, I
Yeah,
guess.
well, I have no doubt it will go great. So and what we're going to discuss actually is in this series, successful individuals like John, who are going to actually give some insights on their background, but also what they've done, to have such a successful career. And these are candid conversations. So we're going to have a lot of blocks limiting belief type conversation, and also how we overcome these challenges, and we're also going to discuss about your specific circumstances that led you to this career choice. So again, thank you so much, John. It's very
Just
exciting.
hope my dogs don't start barking, Peggy.
Well, I'm sure they have a lot to add to the conversation.
They would have a lot to add to any conversation.
So, okay, let's get started. So, that would be amazing if you could give us, some background, or, you had you still are a very successful career. If you could, give us some insights on your career, but also, like if you could connect the dots with some of your, specific circumstances that brought you where you are, that would be amazing.
Yeah, no, happy to, and happy to maybe start from the beginning. As you know, I grew up on the East Coast of Canada, and grew up in a small family business, and in the soft drink manufacturing and distribution space, which is ironic because I couldn't be doing anything further from that at any point in my career. But it really was a wonderful experience to grow up in a family business, and it had been passed down generation to generation. So there was a lot of pride in the business, and I had the opportunity to work in the business really from as early as I can remember. Just working in the manufacturing area for the most part, and then when I was old enough, I found myself driving pop trucks around around Cape Breton. But I really think it instilled, a real sense of entrepreneurialism in me. And I also think it instilled a very strong work ethic. And I was when a lot of my friends were out playing hockey or baseball, I was in the manufacturing business, or in the summers I would be working pretty much every day. So it really gave me a love. It gave me a love for small businesses, gave me an appreciation of the challenges that that small businesses undergo. And interestingly enough, my parents really didn't want me to stay in the business. They were very focused on education in our family, both my sister and I. We both ended up going to Dalhousie. She's older than I, so she was there and able to mentor me a bit. And both ended up studying sciences, biology. And she was in her master's when I started my my undergrad. But there was no doubt that my parents really wanted something else for me, for both of us. So after, I went kind of back to back between my sciences degree and then an MBA. And I think that the day after I graduated from my MBA, I was on an airplane heading to Toronto, and starting with CIBC.
Of course.
Of course. And it was great. It was in the corporate banking area of CIBC, and really had a chance to throw myself into that business, which, outside of my MBA and what I would have learned in my MBA, I really didn't have a lot of context around corporate finance. So I knew right away I was going to have to dig in very hard and work very hard to have a career in that business, and I loved it. I loved my time at CIBC. It was a different era for CIBC. Really learned a lot. And after CIBC, I went to PwC. It was my first tour of duty at PwC. So it was really the heyday of consulting, Peggy. And so I was able to make partner pretty quickly as a strategy partner in financial services. Our business was sold to IBM. I went to IBM, didn't spend a lot of time at IBM, wanted to get back into industry.
Yeah.
So I joined National Australia Bank out of New York, and really had the chance to build a business for NAB in the US. We did a roll-up strategy, so I got involved in lots of M&A activity and led corporate development. Then after the global financial crisis, there was not a lot left to do there. So moved back to PwC, where I had the chance to rebuild the financial services consulting business that had been sold off. So that was great. Again, a very entrepreneurial type role within a large brand. You know, I did that for about 6 years. That's when I first met you. You know, that was something that I really enjoyed the build, but kind of being in an operate kind of mode was something that I just felt that I wanted to do something different. It was then that I got to know Omers and Ruffalo, and he was looking at extending into the growth equity space. And so I joined him at Omers for a few years and worked on a couple of really interesting transactions. And, you know, so I've had this nice combination of operate, but also a whole bunch of advisory, a whole bunch of different roles within the whole spectrum of what you could do within financial services. And it was shortly after that that I met the founders of CAARY, and just thought I just became completely compelled by the opportunity at CAARY. So I've been operating as the CEO of CAARY now for several months.
It's interesting. Oh, you know, we can also trace back to your roots, but entrepreneurial spirit, even if when you were in large organization, actually, that's something that's always been like a driving force for you.
Yeah, no, it really is. And you know, I don't like to think I get bored easily, but you know, it seems in my career, every 5 years I've done kind of something different, and I've been able to kind of create the role that I've wanted over most of my career. And just by, you know, and new roles and things that didn't exist before, like the role at NAB. Or the role at Omers was something completely new. So yeah, it's been, you know, I feel blessed to have worked with some of the great people that I have, including yourself, and have had such a fun career.
So one question I have for you, which I think that's something that the audience is really interested to know. So what you had a lot of success in your career. Obviously, we all have the same thing. It goes up, then you have a peak, it goes up. So when you had this growth or transformation, what specific actions did you take? Did you take any specific actions? I guess maybe that's the first question. But if you did, what actions did you take that really led you to the next level? And it doesn't have to be necessarily, you know, an action like, okay, I took a leadership class, maybe that's that. But it can be, you know, like changing some of your, you know, limiting belief. We were discussing that in the intro, or, you know, realizing that you have some blocks, and just removing that helps you go to the next level.
Yeah. I you know, I can point to a couple of times where I think I really changed my modus operandi in my career. You know, one of which is early in my career, probably particularly in my early days at CIBC. You know, I think I was very dogmatic about how something needed to be done. And frankly, without, you know, having the experience that often accompanies that dogma. And, you know, and I probably wasn't a very pleasant person to work with. I think I was uniquely unpleasant to work with. But, you know, when I got to PwC and got into that partnership culture, you know, really kind of I internalized the aspect of trying to make others around you successful. And a great partnership does that, where the partners are, really looking out for each other, trying to help each other to be successful. Not all partnerships do that.
Yeah.
But, I really got that, that sense at PwC, and had worked on a project where there was multiple partners. It was a big M&A in the Caribbean, and CIBC and Barclays, and really got to work with a great team of partners, a great team of consultants, practitioners. There was a big group of us working on that, both the deal side and the merger integration.
Mm-hmm.
And it really changed my lens on partnership, doing everything in your power to make people around you successful and self-actualized. And I kind of took that with me. I didn't stay at IBM very long, but when I did go to NAB, I definitely, when I was building the team that we're looking at, how we're going to run the US commercial banking business, I really carried a lot of that inspiration with me. And I like to think part of the reason we were as successful as we were is because we had such a close-knit group that, we felt we were doing something really important. And you always have to feel like you're doing something, and therefore you are. Yeah. And I took that back to PwC with me when I came back, and I guess it would have been 2010 timeframe. And, I like to think I've carried that into CAARY Capital as well. It's important. It's a really important part of the culture, and I take it very seriously. I want to see everybody do the best they can do and be the best they can be, and self-actualize.
Yeah, and I know that from you, because we know each other very well, but it's something dear to your heart, the self-actualization of the people around you. And thank you for sharing that. I have a question. So when you change these behaviors or this thinking from very dogmatic to very not dogmatic, because I've been working with you and I know you're absolutely not like that anymore, or changing your unpleasantness or being, more focused on bringing people along versus competition, I guess. So what triggered this change of mindset? Did you hit a wall? Did someone told you, well, John, you're never gonna go to the next level if you continue being dogmatic? Or because when we change mindset, it's because something happened. It's rarely I get up one morning and I see the light, like, can you pinpoint, or do you remember what was?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, at the time at CIBC, I don't think I was getting any feedback that I need to operate differently. Probably when I first got to PwC, I was carrying some of that still with me, that approach to doing business and being a team member. And I think it was, again, probably that project that I referenced where it was, I witnessed it, right? I witnessed how great leaders operate and how they treat their team. So it was, it was more that I was drawn to it than kind of pushed from my previous operating style. But it became really obvious to me that that was going to be the way I was going to operate the rest of my career.
And I think listening to you, it's also this question of timing. So you were probably also mature enough, ready enough. All the circumstances came together to kind of remove this, that could have been a block in your career if you had stayed. You would probably not be sitting where you are today if you had stayed, but if you had stuck to this modus operandi, actually.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. And people who do stay within one organization and have some success by virtue of how they've operated, I think sometimes have a harder time breaking out of that. I think kind of moving around in my career and being able to kind of, practice and tweak the model, the leadership model within different environments kind of gives you a little bit more confidence and self-awareness. And but yeah, it would be, for me, it would have been probably tough to have kind of broken out of the way that I used to operate.
Yeah, and I think there is something very special about you as well. Is I know because we know each other well, is that you're a great musician, and
Ah,
playing music is also your meditation, and it's
yeah.
also, so do you think that has also played, without the pun, actually no pun intended, but that has also played a role in the evolution of your career, the fact that you had this outlet?
Yeah.
um
Yeah. Yeah, for sure I do, Peggy. I mean, certainly it's played a huge role in the evolution of my life. I've been I've been a lover of music from the time I was a child. My parents were both classically trained musicians, my sister as well. I learned the love of music very early on. As you might be able to tell from some of the art on my rock art wall behind me, I was more of a Beatles, Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Bob Dylan kind of fan. But, became really passionate about that music. My parents were always encouraging me to study music. So I played piano kind of hopelessly, but picked up a guitar probably when I was 15 or 16, and never really turned back, and love playing guitar. And I play in a couple of bands. I love playing in a band kind of environment. And you're right. For me, it's a form of meditation. There's no doubt when you're like playing with some musicians and you're in the groove, you leave the planet. You don't even know what you're playing. You don't focus on the technical aspects because you're channeling something else completely. And when you experience that, and you experience it kind of, in a team or a group environment like a band, you take something of that into your work environment.
exactly.
And it's hard for me to kind of articulate what that is, but all my colleagues know I love music. They, when we get back to playing in venues again, I know in all of my incarnations, like my team members will often come out to see performances and things like that. So it creates a bit of like a subculture. There's a culture to it, which is I embrace it. I don't try to hide it. Like
Yes.
if anything, I probably have to dial it down a bit. But I'm always quoting, I'm always quoting John Lennon and Bob Dylan, and so it permeates, certainly it permeates my work environment for sure.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think, like it's important when we look at career, looking at it from a holistic perspective, because
Yeah.
very often we tend to look at just the career part, but with that conversation of like 10-15 minutes, we realize that, okay, your entrepreneurial spirit is probably coming from family origins, the self-actualization group mentality is coming from experience, but also experience at work, but experience with music, which for you is some type of meditation. And I think very often it's like a diet. People are going to tell you, well, you should start eating, I don't know, just fat, whatever diet is. But your body is not my body. My background is not your background. So I think it's always very difficult when you hear career advice because you don't have the full context. And,
Right.
it's interesting to know that, the entrepreneurial spirit you have is also coming from your DNA, literally.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
And
no, yeah. And I agree with your comment, like giving career advice is one of the toughest things to do because you always give it from your lens, right?
exactly.
And what has worked for me probably wouldn't work for somebody else for a number of reasons. So you have to really contextualize what you're giving career advice on, and maybe it ends up being a little bit less leadership style, but more kind of pragmatic around focus and always seeing the big picture and things like that, and less on trying to tell somebody how to be a leader like you are. It's, that's a very tough task, and it's not fair to ask people for everybody to have the exact same leadership style.
Well, and I think it ties very well to the conversation we've been having more and more on diversity. It's one size fits all advice, but okay, it might work for someone who, okay, like me, you're a tall French woman who immigrated to Canada. Some things work for me, they won't work for you, and the other way around,
Yeah.
And I think that's the difficulty sometimes by trying to help or be helpful. We might miss the diversity we have, and I think that's probably the last word on that. And you're absolutely right. It's really contextualizing.
Yep.
And I think if I look at our discussion, for me, the most important thing is really this self-actualization that you are so interested in for yourself and for others, and whatever it means.
That's right. Yeah. It should be without judgment.
Exactly. And like John Lennon said, whatever gets you through the night.
Whatever gets you through the night is all right.
Well, thank you.
I'm glad we were able to work that into it, Peggy.
Oh, I'm sure, I'm surprised that it's not yet, I'm sure it is. I haven't looked, but it's probably in the offering memorandum of CAARY Capital for the next phase. But thank you so much, John, for this candid conversation, sharing your background, sharing your insights, and really appreciate you being the guinea pig of this new series.
Oh, happy to. And I really am. I love the theme of what you're going after here. It's still relatively untapped, I think, as a leadership theme and career development theme. So congratulations. And I'm honored to be the inaugural guest.
Well, thank you so much. And, I'm sure, your advice, your insights will be helpful to many, and that's the most important.
That's great, Peggy. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you so much, and thank you. Bye-bye.